You remember what it felt like to pull into a gas station, back when a gas station was a place that took care of you. You never even had to open your door. You rolled over a little rubber hose, a bell went ding-ding somewhere inside, and out came a young man in a clean uniform and a bow tie, almost at a run. Fill her up? And while the gas pumped, he washed your windshield, front and back, checked your oil, checked the water, checked the air in your tires, and handed you a free road map if you asked. All of it with a smile, all of it for nothing, all of it just for buying a tank of gas at the neighborhood gas station. And here is the part that sounds made up, but isn't. In a certain wild stretch of the 1950s, an American gas station just might hand you, as a free gift, a little sample of real uranium. Today we are going back to the golden age of the American gas station. The free glasses, the trading stamps, the gas wars, and yes, the free uranium. Back to a time when filling your tank came with a present, and the future felt like a gift somebody was handing you through the car window. So picture the place. It's a summer evening in 1957, and the station glows on the corner like a little cathedral of chrome and glass. There's Pegasus, that flying red horse, up on the sign at the Mobil station, the same bright mascot that had been Saucony's symbol since 1911, when the design first took flight over American roads. Or maybe you pulled into Sinclair, where Dino the dinosaur grinned down in friendly green, that cheerful brontosaurus character the company had introduced back in the 1930s to suggest their oil came from a really, really old Earth. Or the big red star at Texaco, where they told you that you could trust your car to the man who wears the star. The pumps themselves, those beautiful round-topped machines with the spinning numbers, owed their existence to a Fort Wayne, Indiana inventor named Sylvanus Freelove Bowser, who had built the first practical kerosene pump back in 1885 and set the template for every gasoline dispenser that followed. The men who worked there were not clerks. They were attendants, and it was a real job with real pride in it. And they knew your name and your car and your father's car. This was full service, and the word meant exactly what it said. They served you fully, and they competed like the devil to do it, because right across the street was another station, and the two of them were in a gas war. You remember the gas wars. A station would drop its price a penny a gallon to pull in cars, and the one across the road would drop too, and back and forth it went until gasoline was selling for almost nothing, 19 cents a gallon, with a man running out to pump it for you and clean your glass while he was at it. They couldn't all win on price forever, so they competed another way. They competed with gifts. And the gifts were wonderful. You filled up and they handed you a drinking glass, a nice one with a pattern on it. And you came back the next week and got another, and over a summer of Phillips you collected a whole match set for your kitchen, free, one tank at a time. Half the drinking glasses in America in those years came out of a gas station. Some stations gave away dish towels or steak knives or a set of plates or coloring books to keep the kids quiet in the back seat. And they gave away the maps, those beautiful folding road maps, free for the taking off a rack by the door, the ones that taught a whole country how to find its way, with the station's brand printed proud across the top. The oil companies handed out millions upon millions of them every year, and a family planned its whole summer vacation across a kitchen table covered in free gas station maps, especially after President Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, and the new interstate system began stitching the country together with ribbons of limited access highway that changed where Americans drove and where the smart stations planted themselves. There were giveaways for the children too. Little plastic toys, a coin bank shaped like the Sinclair dinosaur, a cardboard space helmet, a comic book starring the friendly attendant, so that the kids would beg Dad to stop at one brand and not the other. The station wasn't just selling gasoline, it was buying your loyalty, one small kindness at a time. And it worked, because you remembered who treated you well. Now, all those brands, Mobil, Esso, Texaco, Sinclair, had roots that reached back to one colossal corporate ancestor. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company had controlled nearly all American oil refining by the turn of the century, a monopoly so vast and so powerful that the Supreme Court ordered it broken apart in 1911. Out of that breakup came more than 30 separate companies, and many of them became the familiar names glowing on the roadside. Standard Oil of New York became Saucony, then Mobil. Standard Oil of New Jersey became Esso, then Exxon, and the regional standards spread across the map. Sinclair Oil, founded in 1916 by the Oklahoma wildcatter Harry F. Sinclair, was not one of the Standard offspring. Harry Sinclair built his empire independently, but his name became tangled up in one of the great scandals of the 1920s, the Teapot Dome scandal, which erupted between 1921 and 1923, involved the secret leasing of federal oil reserves, and Harry Sinclair ended up serving jail time for contempt of court. People sometimes confused Sinclair Oil with Upton Sinclair, the muckraking novelist who wrote The Jungle. But the two men had no connection. The company and the green dinosaur belonged to Harry, the oil man, not Upton, the writer. But the king of all the giveaways, the one that ran deepest into American life, was the trading stamp. And the most famous of them all was the S&H Green Stamp. If you are old enough, the words alone bring it back. Every time you bought gas, and at the supermarket too, they handed you little green stamps, so many for every dollar you spent, and you took them home, and you licked them, and you stuck them into a little booklet, page after page, and you saved those booklets in a kitchen drawer for months. And then, when you had enough, you took them down to the S&H Redemption Center, or you ordered from the catalog they called the Ideal Gift Book, and you traded your stacks of saved-up stamps for something real. A toaster, a lamp, a wristwatch, a fishing rod, a bicycle for your boy at Christmas. The whole family saved them. Grandma had her books, your mother had hers. The company behind it all, founded by Elmer Sperry and Thomas Hutchinson back in 1896, grew so enormous that Sperry and Hutchinson liked to brag they printed more stamps in those years than the United States Post Office printed postage. A child's Christmas could come out of a drawer full of licked-up green stamps that started, a penny at a time, at the gas pump. Now all of that, the glasses, the stamps, the maps, the man in the bow tie, all of that was wonderful, but it was normal. Here is the part that was not normal. Here is the part that tells you just how strange and giddy and hopeful that decade really was. For a few wild years in the 1950s, America went crazy for uranium, and gasoline stations got right in on it. You have to understand the moment. The war had ended with the atomic bomb, and the country had decided, with that peculiar 1950s optimism, that the atom was not going to be a terror. It was going to be a friend. Atomic energy was the future. It was going to give everyone cheap electricity and power their cars and cure their diseases. And the government needed uranium to build it, so the Atomic Energy Commission, created by the Atomic Energy Act of 1946 to control all nuclear development in the United States, did something that lit a fire under the whole American West. It promised to buy uranium ore from anybody who could find it, at a guaranteed price, with cash bonuses for new discoveries. Overnight, uranium was money lying in the ground, and a great uranium rush was on, the biggest mineral rush since the gold rush 100 years before. Thousands of ordinary people, dentists, school teachers, war veterans, bought a war surplus Geiger counter and went out into the canyons of Utah and Colorado and New Mexico to get rich, and some of them did. A down-on-his-luck prospector named Charlie Steen, who had been living in a tar paper shack with his wife and kids, hit one of the greatest uranium strikes in history when he discovered the Mi Vida mine out in the Utah desert in 1952. and became a millionaire almost overnight. And the whole country caught the fever. There was an actual hit song on the radio, a twangy number called Uranium Fever, about the men running off into the desert with their counters clicking. Out in Utah, the little town of Moab declared itself the uranium capital of the world, and dusty desert towns sprouted uranium cafes and uranium motels and uranium bars where you could get a uranium burger and dream about the claim that would make you rich. Boys saved up for a Geiger counter the way their fathers had once saved for a fishing rod. Uranium wasn't a poison in a warning label. It was a lottery ticket the whole nation was scratching at once. So uranium wasn't scary. Uranium was exciting. Uranium was the future, and it was a sweepstakes, and it was the most modern, most optimistic thing a person could imagine. And American business, which never misses a craze, leaned into it hard. They sold uranium-themed everything. There were uranium board games where you raced to stake your claim. There were Geiger counters you could rent, and there was a real toy, and this still stops people cold, created by Alfred Carlton Gilbert, the famous inventor and toy maker who had already given America the Erector set and a whole generation of science kits. Around 1950, Gilbert released the U-238 Atomic Energy Lab, a science set for children that came with a working Geiger counter, a little cloud chamber to watch radiation streak through, and several genuine samples of real, mildly radioactive uranium ore, so a kid could go hunting for it around the house. A toy, with real uranium in the box. And so, out in the uranium country and beyond, the gas stations did what gas stations do. They turned the craze into a giveaway. Stations ran uranium promotions, free Geiger counter contests, uranium claim sweepstakes where a lucky customer might win a stake in a real mining claim, and yes, in that atomic mad corner of the country, a fill-up that came with a little vial or a small chunk of actual uranium ore handed across the counter like a free glass or a book of stamps. Free uranium with your fill-up. Because in 1955, nothing on God's earth said, "The future is bright and it belongs to you," quite like a glowing rock from the atomic age, given away free at the same counter where you got your green stamps. Nobody flinched. They thought it was the most marvelous thing in the world. It tells you everything about that time. The same hopefulness that put a man in a bow tie running out to clean your windshield for free, that filled your cupboard with free glasses and your drawer with green stamps, also looked at uranium and saw not a danger but a gift. The friendly atom, the bright tomorrow, yours with the tank of regular. So what happened to all of it? Where did the man in the bow tie go, and the free glasses, and the stamps, and the giddy atomic dream? The world got harder, and it got more honest, and it happened mostly in the 1970s. When the OPEC oil embargo hit in October of 1973 and gasoline suddenly got scarce and expensive, the whole sweet arrangement fell apart. There was no money anymore for gas wars and free gifts when the gas itself was precious. The stations needed to cut every cost they could, and the biggest cost standing out by the pumps was the attendant. So out came the self-service gasoline pump, and the sign that said you could save a few cents a gallon by pumping it yourself. And once people learned to pump their own gas, the man in the bow tie was never coming back. To this day, New Jersey and Oregon still legally require full-service attendants at the pump, the last two states where the old model survives not by choice but by law. A reminder that what vanished everywhere else was not inevitable, but chosen. The trading stamps faded around the same time. As prices rose, the supermarkets and the stations did the arithmetic and decided the giveaways cost more than they were worth. And the great stamp companies shrank and shrank. Sperry and Hutchinson, which had once printed more stamps than the government printed money, withered down to almost nothing, and one by one the redemption centers across America closed their doors. The half-filled booklets sat forgotten in kitchen drawers, the toaster never quite earned, and then they went out with the trash. A whole way of saving, a whole little family ritual of licking and pasting and counting toward something, simply ended, and most people couldn't even tell you the year it stopped. The gas station stopped being a place that took care of you and became a place where you took care of yourself. By the middle of the 1980s, pay-at-the-pump technology arrived, letting you swipe a card right at the dispenser without ever speaking to a soul, and the transformation was complete. The station became what we call a convenience store format now, a C-store with pumps out front, where the gasoline is almost an afterthought next to the lottery tickets and the soda. And the atomic dream grew up the hardest of all. The country learned slowly and then all at once that uranium and radiation were not a friendly novelty to be handed across a counter, that the same atom that was going to power the friendly future could poison the men who mined it and the towns downwind of the tests. The Geiger counter toys came off the shelves, the free uranium stopped, and the very idea of it came to seem, in just a few years, completely insane. We had been so sure and so wrong, and so wonderfully, dangerously hopeful. Now let's be fair, the way we always try to be. The old full-service station was slower and it was more expensive, and self-service gasoline has saved every one of us real money at the pump for 50 years, and it is a very good thing indeed that we no longer hand children real uranium in a toy box, or pass out radioactive rocks with a fill-up. We know better now, and knowing better is a kind of progress, and it has surely saved some lives. I won't pretend the old days were all wisdom. But something warm went out of the ordinary American errand when all that disappeared. There was a courtesy in it, a sense that buying a tank of gas made you a guest. Somebody was glad to see, somebody worth a free glass and a clean windshield and a kind word. And there was an innocence in it, even in the crazy uranium part. A feeling that the future was a present being handed to you through the car window, and all you had to do was pull in and let them take care of the rest. We are richer now, and we pump our own gas, and we are nobody's guest. So now we want to hear from you. Did you collect a set of those free gas station glasses, one fill-up at a time? Did your family lick and save the S&H Green Stamps? And what did you finally trade them for? A toaster, a bike, a watch you still have? Did you ever have the Gilbert Atomic Lab, or know somebody out west who went chasing uranium with a Geiger counter? And do you remember the man in the bow tie who ran out to your window? What was his name? What was his station? Tell us down in the comments, because that whole bright, generous, slightly reckless world started every single time with a bell going ding and somebody saying, "Fill her up?"